Hey, throw out those vertical bows because we're talking about horizontal bows with Adam Ganske of Ravin Crossbows. You're going to want to hear this one because he talks about everything Ravin's doing.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome all you gun talk hunters out there. I'm your host KJ, and welcome into another exciting episode because this, typically we focus, I'm not going to lie, we focus a lot on the gun aspect of things, but there's a whole nother world out there, a world that I'm actually fond of, and it is bow hunting. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about crossbow hunting. All right, we're going to be talking with Adam Ganske. Adam, welcome in, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. And hey, if you guys are wondering, Adam is with Ravin Crossbows, and they got a lot of new stuff out there. And the bows that you know of, the crossbows you know of, are not what they look like of days of old. They are completely different. But I'm excited to have Adam on. This episode is brought to you by Vortex and Range Ready Studios and Benelli. So thank you for all those joining in. And Adam, man, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be with Ravin.
I've had a passion for hunting ever since I could walk, and that was all due to my family lineage and my dad and taking me along when I was little and, helping on deer drives and setting stands, scouting for deer, things like that. My love and passion for the outdoors through hunting kind of led me down a path that I'm on today. When I was in college, I worked for Shields. I ran one of their archery departments as a head bow tech and manager of the department. And, again, that passion led me to Ravin. I had met some of the designers and owners at the time through there, and luckily enough, they saw something in me, offered me a job, and I was single and, ready for an adventure and ground level, and it was appealed to me, and away we went. So that's kind of how I got it.
Where's Ravin located out of?
So our headquarters, and we only have one location. It's in Superior, Wisconsin. So we're right, from our office here, you can almost see Lake Superior. So across from Duluth.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh. I bet the smallmouth bass fishing up there is unbelievable right around like June 10th.
Yeah.
It's just
we usually sneak out of the office in June or late May to go get on Chequamegon Bay. So yeah, it's a pretty good time.
Yeah. And let's just talk about the cheese curds. Cause I mean, come on. I mean, if no one has had a cheese curd from Wisconsin, and they have to be fresh.
Yeah,
very squeaky. They have to be squeaky. I'm just going to tell you that right now. They have to be squeaky. If it's not squeaky cheese, man, you're settling for second best out there.
Right.
So I don't know if you kind of have an idea of the numbers, but really my experience with crossbow hunting, I grew up in Oklahoma. I was that's where I cut my teeth bow hunting. And to crossbow hunt at the time, you had to have a written doctor's note, and it was a process to go through. It's not that way anymore. Thank goodness, because they decided, you know what, this is legitimate. Like, this is a real deal that everyone should have access to. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I think I was reading the numbers the other day. There's like somewhere upwards of like maybe 3.5 million bow hunters in the United States or something like that. I'm not sure what the percentage is on the crossbow hunters.
Yeah, I don't know that statistic for sure, but what I can tell you is the states that, majority of them have legalized it in some fashion, whether it be for everybody or certain age groups or disabilities, what have you. But the one thing I do know is states like Wisconsin, Minnesota, I was just reading, they just legalized it this year. And even though we're only into the archery season for, a little over a week from since it opened, 40% of the deer harvest was crossbows. So
That's
it just
crazy.
Shows you that there's a demand out there of people who, maybe never hunted with a compound, maybe only were gun hunters and never had the time to practice or be sufficient with a compound. And then once they legalized it, they transferred over. Or maybe it might even be youth hunters who maybe can't pull back, the legalized weight, and this gets them into the sport, which is great. So there's a lot of benefits to legalizing crossbows for sure.
Well, and you look at all the feature benefits. So let's kind of go there. Let's talk about like the benefits of it, because I think that plays a bigger role in, what you can get into. And you kind of talked about it, getting youth hunters in because, the weight restrictions and the poundage limits on bow hunting in general, but extending your distances too. I mean, that cannot be underestimated, because like you're talking, like, let's say 40 yards are in for a traditional, like, level bow,
Yep.
Or a horizontal. I guess it'd be a horizontal bow. Let's talk about those horizontal bow guys. Your distances are shrunk down to making a highly effective shot. And with crossbows, I mean, it's even further. It's, 60, 80.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changed the game. Even like you started this beginning of this podcast out, you talked about what crossbows used to be known as versus where they've come in today's technology. Yeah. I mean, crossbows of yesterday, used to be limited as well, just because the energy wasn't there either, or accuracy for that matter. There was a time where even crossbows were limited in accuracy because of the technology out to a short distance. Now, with the technologies and how far it's come, you can shoot accurately, no wind, controlled environment indoors, we're shooting 3-inch groups at 100 yards. Ethically, it's up to individual hunter, the situation you're in, what have you. But from a standpoint of a hunting scenario, yeah, you can put yourself in a scenario like a spot and stalk antelope. Now you don't need to get necessarily, within vertical bow range of what you might have had to before. You can take a little longer shot because you're confident. Or, I envision guys sitting, in a stand, a ground blind, what have you, over a food plot or a field in the Midwest. Now they can cover that entire corner of that field entrance or that food plot, what have you. So yeah, it definitely changed the game in the sense of gives you more opportunity to be successful and set up your stands differently, things like that. So
yeah, well, you touched on it, but the accuracy and getting 3-inch groups out to 100 yards, rifle hunters would be like, man, that's an unacceptable accuracy. Well, have you ever tried to shoot a vertical bow out to 100 yards and get? You're not going to shoot those groups. I mean, maybe Aaron Snyder might. I mean, I don't know. Mike Hearn for sure. But, those guys are above average, or you're, right. I mean, it's unbelievable on because you go to practice, you don't practice. I don't see many guys practicing their crossbow shooting all that much, because they are so finely tuned machines these days that you can't shoot at the same mark on a target, or you're going to be Robin Hood in nearly every arrow you got. You're going to be blowing through them, or your bolt.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, once you get them sighted in and you get comfortable with the bow, still good to practice, obviously, and make sure that you're confident in your abilities with the bow and just feel comfortable with it, just like you would a rifle. But yeah, I mean, in all, honesty, inside 50 yards and in, I would not be shooting at the same dot, especially, off of a bipod or bag.
Right.
It's just crazy. But along with your yardage point too, the fastest vertical bow out of the front of the bow, 32-inch draw setup is max as you can get, 80 pounds. You're talking maybe just over 300 feet per second, depending upon your arrow setup, right? Our slowest crossbow, our slowest crossbow at 100 yards is still pushing in the high 200s, if not right below 300. So, I mean, that's face of the bow on a vertical bow, we're talking 100 yards on our fastest. So, I mean, the energy and the amount of speed in kinetic energy combination there is just out of this world. So
it's unbelievable. And the technology that's going behind all these, and Ravin, I think it needs to be stated, ravencrossbows.com. You can find out more about them, but they're doing broadheads, they're doing bolts, they're doing glass. I mean, the optics, on the optics side of it, is really cool what you guys are doing. I mean, you got dial turrets and you got all that cool stuff. But the technology that's going into today's crossbows, and it's funny because I don't have a modern day crossbow. Mine's the one that has limbs that are, nearly 3 feet wide. And now that you look at them and they're shrunk down to like 8 inches.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys are doing it, who started this trend of like really kind of rejuvenating crossbows into something completely that we don't normally see, especially from the old days?
Yeah, I think, I wish I could take all the credit for it, and wish I
Yes.
had the mind, but I'm just a lowly sales guy, right? I'm just a sales, so they made my job easy. But no,
Yeah, absolutely.
back in Ravin was in development 2014, 2015 in the
Hmm.
testing phase, and that's kind of when I came on. Was the beginning of 2016. They were kind of getting towards the tail end of that testing, um, and we essentially looked at what consumers, what their demand was, what they wanted. Like you had just stated, they were awkward, right? They were
Yeah.
wide, they were front heavy, clumsy, had bad triggers, weren't accurate. They were only accurate at short distances, not long. And overall, they just weren't efficient. Like
Right.
they were, for the output that they were putting out in an arrow, it just wasn't efficient. So what we did is we basically looked at all those things and checked each box off as we went along. We got a crossbow, we narrowed it up, right? So we went from, a wide width of maybe, 20 to 18 inches on a standard crossbow down to, 10 and a half inches uncocked axle to axle down to a mere 6 inches axle to axle when fully cocked. And then we shortened up the bow in overall length too. So with a short power stroke, we could, with that narrow width, axle to axle, we could still push a bolt in the first Ravin ever over 390 feet per second. And then, now we have bows that shoot, all the way up to 500 feet per second. But the key is the cams. So the way that we can get away with that is the cams are able to rotate extensively. We have some models that rotate 320, some 340, and some 720 degrees. And what that allows you to do is have a short power stroke, narrow up your front end axle to axle tremendously, but you store all that energy in the cams.
Right.
So when you shoot, the cams are releasing all that energy for you. So yeah, again, I wish I could have been the guy who, had that mind, but I'm happy to be on this side of it. So
Yeah, you are. I mean, yeah, especially for sales, it makes your job so much easier. Hey, Adam, real quick, we're going to jump in here with a break. And after, I want to kind of explore what Raven's offering new this year because, guys, now's the time to start buying. Like, now's the time. I mean, literally, most seasons are going to either summer opening or they're about to open. So you need to jump out there and check them out. So let's jump in here with a word from our sponsors. All right, Vortex. Vortex is in the glass game. I think you all know this. They just recently launched the Razor HD 13 to 39 by 56 spotting scope. They offered an angled and a straight version. All right, me, myself, I'm going to choose the angled version. And here's why. It's a little bit more universal when it comes to glassing. Whether I'm sitting down or standing up, I can have it shortened. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but a straight, think about it like this way. If you're on a straight spotting scope, you have to look directly into it. Whereas a spotting scope, you can look down or you can kind of look to the side because they have an adjustment there. So if you're looking to take an optic out into the field in the backcountry, consider an angled spotting scope. It's going to help you. It's going to help put relief on your neck. You're not going to have to raise that tripod up as high as you normally would, so you can keep it down a little bit more. But the Razor HD 13 to 39 by 56 is perfect backpacking spotting scope. I promise you won't be disappointed. Find out more at vortexoptics.com. And Benelli, okay, let's talk about Super Black Eagle 3. We're going to talk about the third version here. And I want to talk specifically about the 28 gauge. If you guys have not shot this gun yet, we just got one in the office, and I'm super excited about it. But it seems that Ryan has already stolen it. So that has gone by the wayside, but I got a chance to fire some rounds through it and break some clays with it. And it will be a perfect mate with you in the field. It points beautifully. It's available in Optifade and Realtree Max 7, black synthetic stock, and Mossy Oak Bottomland, which that's my preferred one right there. But man, cryo chokes is what it takes. It points beautifully. You guys are going to want to shoot this one. It's easy locking bolt system. It's versatility without compromise. So I'm telling you, they've got the comfort technology, inertia driven system. So it's a light kicking gun. Light recoil is what we want. This is a perfect youth gun. If you're getting kids out in the field, don't just hand them your granddaddy's 410 and say, here you go. Consider something like this inertia driven system, the Super Black Eagle 3 from Benelli. Find out more at benelliusa.com. And Range Ready Studios. Did you know you need training? I'm sorry to say it, but yes, you do. Because I do. I have to have training. And that's trigger press, that's grip, that's how you control recoil. And I've taken 3 classes out here now. I've taken 2 classes with the pistol, 1 class with the rifle. And I'll tell you this much, my hunting positions and shooting is much better now because the trigger press, I don't have to think about it as much because it's built in. I am building those good habits. We all have bad habits that we need to break, and I am in the process of undoing those nasty habits I gained as a little kid. So find out more at Range Ready Studios to find your next class. rangereadystudios.com. All right, we're talking with Adam Ganske of Ravin Crossbows. Now, Adam, let's kind of run out. Let's look at this from a guy or gal or youth hunter looking at purchasing a crossbow and what they can expect from Ravin. Because from a guy who loves to bow hunt that does not have a modern day crossbow, like, what should I be looking for? What should I be paying attention to? And what's important? Because is it compact size that's important? Is it speed that's important? What should folks be on the lookout for?
I think it's just like anything else. I think it comes down to personal use. And what I mean by that is it depends on your situation. A guy who hunts in the Midwest solely, never leaves the Midwest, never leaves his tree stand or his ground blind situations where he's only shooting a max of maybe 40, 50 yards at max, typically less. I think he's going to pick a different bow than what somebody who maybe goes out west, spot and stalk type scenarios, maybe has longer shots, things like that. So packing in, lightweight. So the Midwest tree stand type guy, I think, he can get away with maybe a little bit heavier bow, one that still needs to be small and narrow and compact though. And then speed wise, we have a range from anywhere from 400 feet per second all the way up to 500. So that's personal preference, right? I mean, some guys are happy with a lower speed bow because it's, just like in the compound world, it's less noise, less vibration, things like that. Yeah. Some guys have to have the max of the max. I got to have the fastest bow. I don't care. It's just variables like that.
The coolest kid on the block. That's what that is. That's hey, back in the day, it was like, hey, I got a new BMX. It's a new, Diamondback or something.
Exactly. It's exactly like that. But the beauty of Ravin is, we're going to call it the starting price point, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you say that, people think, oh, well, that's, it's not as reliable or, right. It isn't built as well. That's not true with Ravin, but we'll stay the starting price point all the way up through to the highest price point. The beauty of Ravin is you're not hindering your performance, you're not hindering your accuracy, and you're not hindering yourself on the reliability of the bow. Right. It's going to be the same all the way through. Basically, as you step up the ladder from lowest price to highest price, you're paying for features such as it's got silent cock built in versus having a ratcheting noise. Speed goes up, as well with price. And then obviously optics package and the package it comes with, things of that nature. So, a lot of variables to play into it.
Yeah. So you can go, now we're talking like the Ravin R10 might be like, would you consider that the baseline? Like that's where we're starting?
Yep.
And going all the way up to like the R500, like sniper.
Correct. Yeah. You're on both ends there. So
okay.
The R10's been our number one seller since we released it 4 years ago. Probably a big part of that being price point, but second, it is just known to be an extremely reliable bow. It's extremely accurate. The only things you're lacking in that bow is the fact that it's, I guess, not, faster than 400 feet per second. It doesn't have silent cock built in. and you can't adjust the stock to, personally fit each
Right.
individual user.
Right. So but you're still at 6.8 pounds. Like
Yep.
I mean, draw force is only 12 pounds, where I think the R500 was right around 17 pounds or so.
Yep.
Just, you're getting a lot of technology even in
Oh,
your
yeah.
base bow.
Yeah. I mean, that technology is what started Ravin. So that's my
Okay.
point, is that technology that's still using the same technology that when Ravin, kind of reinvented the idea of a crossbow and changed the industry in that aspect.
Yeah.
It's using the same exact technologies. It hasn't been cheapened up or anything like that. Sometimes that happens to products that stick around a while. That has not happened to this. It's extremely reliable, accurate, fast, user friendly. Like you're saying, the cocking aid system.
Yeah.
It only takes 12 pounds of pressure to cock the bow. The uniqueness of Ravin 2 is on all of our bows is the trigger box itself is actually the cocking mechanism as well. So there's nothing that you need to take off from the back of the stock, attach to the string, cock back or manually cock back, and then take off and store somewhere. This is just, you drop the trigger box down, it attaches to the string, and then you simply attach a cocking handle and cock the bow back, and you're ready to go.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Hey, that's so okay. Look, I want to talk about this because I remember back in the day, like my dad had an old crossbow, and like decocking it was like an event. Like he had to have this special target, and he's like, okay, hey, we've got to set it up like this, or it's going to explode or something. Hey, that has changed, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can still find crossbows out there like that. Typically, they're quite lower end, starting out bows or price point bows. But I mean, we don't have anything like that in our lineup. They all have some kind of cocking aid, whether, now it's, do you want it to make a ratchet sound, or do you want it to be silent? Do you want it to be a strap driven, or do you want it to be a worm driven screw rod? The options now are pretty endless.
Dude, it's like, seriously, that's one of the memories stuck in. Like, he was like, you have to be so careful with this. And I'm like, is it a bomb? Like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we messing with this thing? It's not the thing you want to mess with if it's that dangerous. Come on.
Yep.
But that's how far technology has come. I mean, it's just where we're at.
Yeah. No, and it's good for the industry too. I mean,
it is.
Everybody has competitors in any industry, but it's good to push yourselves. It's good to push your competitors, because it just, in the end, it's good for everybody, including the consumer. So I mean, it's just it's a great thing to have.
And really, I mean, really, you look at, like, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, like, visit ravencrossbows.com, because you guys are kind of full service now. Like, I mean, you can get your bolts, you can get your broadheads, your cases, you've got apparel. And of course your crossbows. But I mean, optics and everything. Like, you guys kind of offer a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we wanted to, once we had the bows dialed in and got that flowing and moving well, being a startup company, that sometimes takes a little while. But once we got that flowing well, we really wanted to complete that circle and make it easy for the end user. A lot of times, you buy a product, and, for example, our number one question as soon as we released Ravin was, what broadhead should I shoot? Well, and I mean, that was overwhelmingly the number one question, which may seem kind of silly to you, maybe not, but it was, because people wanted to be extremely accurate, and they wanted to obviously be lethal with the product. Because a lot of bows, both vertical and crossbow, can shoot field points accurate, but what broadhead do we use? How many forums are out there talking about it? How many podcasts? So we, just helped. We looked at all the broadheads in the market, tested them all, and we finally came down to one broadhead that we, had specifically designed around Ravin. We knew that it wouldn't pre-deploy when you shot it, no matter the speed. We knew that it would be just as accurate as our field points out to 100 yards, and we just held it to the same standard. So somebody buys a Ravin bow, there's a Ravin case that it will for sure fit into, that will protect it. There's the broadheads that will shoot accurate. You can buy extra arrows, lighted arrows, right down the line. We made it easy for the end user.
Just one-stop shop right there. Adam, what hunts you got planned?
This year I'm a little slowed down compared to previous years. I've got a 1-year-old son at home, so I'm kind of enjoying spending time with him. But I always find time. We have, family land in Wisconsin, and I've got land in Minnesota as well. So I'll definitely be archery hunting there. And then I go to Nebraska every year and hunt mule deer in November.
That's awesome.
So
that's so cool. Well, guys, can't express it enough. Like, extend your season, extend your range, narrow your accuracy, because you're going to get better accuracy with these crossbows, especially Ravin crossbows. Adam, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, no problem. I really appreciate having me on.
And I'll have to follow up with you. I've got to follow up with you because I got to see how your season went for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll follow up with you as well.
Awesome, man. Well, I sure do appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, all you gun talk hunters, you know the drill. This is what you do. You keep those muzzles or crossbows pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.